All right, we got a good amount of people. I think we should go ahead and get started. So thank you guys all for joining today. It means a lot to have all these people attending, and we're really excited to share all this valuable information with you. We spent a lot of time putting it together, and let's just jump into it. So today's webinar is 5 tips to boost your nonprofit's digital fundraising using Facebook and Instagram ads, with Ernie Civic and Blake Arata from Community Boost Consulting, and myself, Eric. So just jumping in with a little bit of housekeeping first. We ask that you hold all questions until the end and just ask them in the Zoom Q&A chat window. And then we'll hold time at the end of the webinar to cover all of those. And then also make sure to connect with us on social media. Our Twitter is @CommunityBoost, and we're @CommunityBoost on all other channels. And let's get into it. So I'll hand it off to the other host to introduce himself.
Hey everybody, really excited to meet you all. My name's Blake. I am the Director of Traffic and Conversions at Community Boost. I've been here for about just going on 5 years now and have been working in Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising for about 3 years or so. So back when we didn't really know much about the platform and kind of pioneered it here. And since then we've managed, upwards of millions of dollars for our nonprofit partners and generated millions upon millions in direct impact and donation revenue for our nonprofits, which has been fantastic. And I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of our insights and tips for you all. We've definitely made our fair share of mistakes and learned a lot about both Facebook and Instagram as we've gone through and pioneered it for Community Boost, and hoping to save you all a lot of time and wasted energy so that you can go straight to just being effective right out of the gate. And hope that you find a lot of this feedback valuable.
And my name is Retargeting Civic. I'm the Facebook Area Practice Manager here at Community Boost. I've led a ton of successful Facebook campaigns and have managed well over $1 million in ad spend. Super excited to be sharing some useful tips and strategies to best equip your organizations for success. Between myself and Blake, there have been a ton of learning curves, and I can't wait to share our best-in-class methods with you all. Super excited to be doing this webinar.
Awesome. And I know Blake and Ernie are being humble, but from a personal perspective, they're two of the best Facebook marketers I've personally seen, and I've seen them raise millions of dollars for nonprofits. So we'll definitely listen to what they have to say. So a little bit of background on us as Community Boost. This is our small but mighty team. And just some numbers for 2019 impact. In 2019 alone, we served 186 nonprofits directly, and we generated $7.5 million of online donation revenue for impact. Over our 7 years in existence, we've served over 300 plus nonprofits, and those range from massive nonprofits to small local ones. Down below, you can see some of the logos of some of our partners: a bunch of humane societies, International Community Foundation, Statue of Liberty Ellis Island, the Trevor Project, and local foundations like the San Diego Foundation. And before we really get into the meat of this webinar, I want to get a bird's eye view of what our top 5 takeaways are going to be today, so you guys know exactly what you'll come out of this webinar with. First, we really understand what Facebook and Instagram advertising is from more of a bird's eye view, also down to a pretty granular level, and understand what opportunities it represents for your nonprofit, especially during these challenging times. We'll learn examples of winning Facebook and Instagram strategies to help your fundraising. And then thirdly, which I think is really interesting, is how one client achieved a 98x return on ad spend using Facebook and Instagram ads to raise money for foster youth. This is a really cool case study. And fourthly, we'll learn how to apply our 5 tips to boost your nonprofit's digital fundraising to reach your fundraising goals as effectively and purposely as possible. Again, Facebook and Instagram are extremely powerful tools, and we'll be going into pretty granular specifics on how to make the most of them. And then lastly, if you stay to the end, we're offering complimentary one-on-one Facebook strategy sessions. This is one of the best ways for us to dive in and meet your specific needs. Obviously, we can give a bunch of tips about how to use Facebook ads specifically, but what it really comes down to is tailoring our strategies for specific nonprofits. And then we're also offering a free traffic campaign build, which, talking to our Facebook team, is one of the easiest ways to get results from Facebook as quickly and efficiently as possible. Awesome. So let's get into it. Facebook and Instagram ads. What are they and what opportunity do they represent? So I just want to take a moment and just take a deep breath and realize that at this moment on, May 12th, 2020, Facebook and Instagram as platforms, they touch more people every day than any major religion, movement, or book ever. It's 2.8 billion daily active users. And that means that every single type of person, of every income demographic, of every psychographic, of every interest group is on Facebook in some respect. And so that also means your nonprofit supporters are on Facebook. So your nonprofit needs to be on Facebook and Instagram, the Facebook app ecosystem, in some respect. And it's been validated as a fundraising platform. Over $2 billion have been raised on Facebook to date. And based on our numbers and speculations, that number is only poised to grow. So just jumping into a little bit about the state of the platform, what we're seeing is that we're in the middle of an accelerating change. This COVID-19 crisis isn't exactly an agent of change, it's an accelerant of change. So what that means is that there are already pre-existing trends, and a lot of them COVID has just thrown gas on the fire and skyrocketed. So one of those is people spending more time online. You can see the average time spent online daily went from 6.1 hours to 7.3 hours only in the first month of quarantine. Facebook's daily active users are up 14% year over year in Q1. And that's a disproportionate jump. And that's because of, people spending more time online during lockdown and quarantine. You can see average weekly time spent in gaming and non-gaming apps worldwide is up 20% year over year in Q1. That's the bottom right graph. And then in the top middle graph, you can just see how Facebook's daily active users is accelerating. And that last up hike in Q1 of 2020, a lot of that we think is due to people spending more time online. And what that means is that Facebook is poised to grow through the crisis. More people are spending time online. Traditional advertising outlets are going out of business, like radio and TV ads, and more people are spending money on Facebook and Instagram ads. But at this very moment, what it also means is that ad costs are lower than ever. The reason for that is that more people are spending time online, which means the demand for advertising has increased. At the same time, the supply of ads has decreased. And this is because a lot of businesses are going through tough times and they can't afford to spend as much online and digitally. And the results of that, what we're seeing at Community Boost, managing so many digital fundraising campaigns for over 100 nonprofits at the moment, is that cost per clicks are lower than ever. Cost per million impressions are lower than ever. Cost per valuable actions like purchases are lower than ever. And so this is a really good time to take advantage of more people being online and having their eyeballs on this platform specifically. Jumping into just a little bit about Facebook by the numbers. The first stat here is that 74% of high income earners use Facebook. This is a really interesting stat because especially during and after recessions, it's high income earners that tend to continue to donate. And so that means that these are your potential donors. And 74% of them are on Facebook, and that's where you can reach them, you can communicate with them, you can build relationships with them, and then you can bring them into your nonprofit's community to eventually help you serve your own communities and serve the impact that you're all here to accelerate. There's 2.8 billion daily active users in the Facebook ecosystem. Again, this just speaks to the scale of the platform. But that's really interesting because your nonprofit is a specific group of people with a specific group of values that you want to target. And with 2.8 billion people being on the platform, you know that at least some of those people are on Facebook. And with their extremely powerful targeting tools, you can reach them and you can start conversations and build relationships with those people. Thirdly, this is something we're gonna touch on later on in the webinar. But a really interesting stat is that there's a 70% higher conversion rate for site visitors who are retargeted. So again, we're gonna touch on this later on, but that means people who have engaged with you on some other platform, maybe visited your website, liked your mission, but then left for whatever reason. Once you retarget them on Facebook, there's a 70% higher conversion rate of those people who wouldn't have converted otherwise. So that's new donations, new donation revenue to serve your impact. And then lastly is that 21% of donations are directly through social. And this stat we think is only the beginning. Like we said, with Facebook and Instagram as platforms poised to grow through the crisis, we just think this is a validation of the beginning of a trend, which is a lot more people donating online and through social platforms specifically. And I'll go ahead and hand it off to Ernie now for a case study that he worked on specifically that showed absolutely massive results in Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. As you all can see, this is a foster care client that had a very successful 98 times return on investment here. What makes this client so special is that on our call, they mentioned they would be impressed with just one Facebook donation. We spent little under $600 for this campaign and generated well over 150 donations. They're still an active client of ours and are on pace for a similar ROI again, which just proves the effectiveness of our methods and strategies that we'll be sharing with you all today. So within 30 days, generating a 98x return on investment with 150 donations is remarkable. And it just attests to the numbers that Eric was just speaking about and how powerful the platform is once the proper audiences or personas are targeted.
And what I really love about this case study is that so many times when we're talking to nonprofits about digital marketing or Facebook advertising, they say one of two things. They say, well, we don't really have the bandwidth internally to take on, pioneering Facebook at our nonprofit, or we don't really have the budget or the ad spend to dedicate to Facebook or Instagram advertising. And to both those things, I would say it's just so important to get started. We'll give you some tips on the best way to get started if you don't really have the time to build out a full campaign. But I also want to let you all know that you don't necessarily need to have a Save the Children $50,000 a month budget or something like that. You can get started with hundreds of dollars and can see really strong return on ad spend or return on investment out of the gate. So we just urge you to test and get started today if you can.
Awesome. And let's move on to the next slide. So the 4 tips we're going to be covering today are going to be people prefer personalization and what that means, measuring what matters. Blake's going to touch base on this and how to impact it fully. Tip number 3 is making the most of existing posts. Tip 4 is going to be always be testing and retargeting rewards and what that means as well. Tip number 1, personalization wins. When it comes to setting tone, this is key to your audiences. We start talking about stocks and bonds, majority of you right now would probably leave because this is not the topic that you signed up for. Same goes for your potential donors, your followers, or your current donors. You want to use relevant messaging that grabs their attention and touches on the things that they care for, which is you. So some of the ways to do that is by following these 3 tips right here. Step 1 is you want to set the tone. Your best performing campaigns stand out by having one message that is concrete and specific. You want to ensure that your campaign messaging is consistent with its readers. So depending on who you plan on targeting in your posts, your fundraisers, or your ads, you want to make sure the message is relatable and it makes sense to the people that are seeing it. Next step is relevant messaging. A quote I added here is, people don't ever mind being interrupted if the ad's message is interesting to them. As you can see, this connects with the first tip, but you want to focus on delivering timely and relevant messaging. Segmenting by visitor traffic is the best way to do this. And lastly is you want to map out your funnel. Identify the content that will be unique interest to each persona, map it using a diagram, then focus on your marketing funnel where these users will fall. And the idea behind that is if you're targeting new people, you want to relate maybe your mission. If you're retargeting people or your followers, you want to maybe get them engaging on Facebook versus rather than straight asking them for a donation at the time. It might be better to nurture these people into the process versus just asking. And then, of course, if it's donors, you may want to give them an actionable ad as well. To our right, you can see is one more wave ad. This is one of our clients that we work with, and a good example of personalization and how we use that effectively in one of our campaigns. In this audience, we used a checkout initiate audience, which is a bunch of people that went to donate, but they dropped off somewhere before the donation was completed. Since we knew these users dropped off before completing a donation, we wanted to re-engage them and let them know that it's not too late to donate. By doing this one simple adjustment in our text, we saw additional donations coming in right before the campaign ended. So small little adjustment, but we were able to just say, hey, we knew these people didn't complete that donation, but we were able to take that time and say, hey, it's not too late to go ahead and complete it. Even if a small percentage of those did come back and complete, it was still, money that was left on the table that we took advantage of. So it was awesome to kind of implement this. And now looking at the personalization wins, again, you want to speak to your targeted personas. Personalization increases relevance and engagement, which ultimately drives trust and results. So you want to make sure that your donors are seeing your ads and they're being contacted properly. Again, they're being bombarded with messages from nonprofits trying to fundraise, trying to get donations out of them, or even getting them to like their page. You want to make sure that you stand out and share relevant information with your donors, with potential new donors and followers, so that way you can keep them communicating, stay at top of mind, and also continue growing your community. And then we'll move on to the next slide.
Thanks for that, Ernie. I'll be taking on tip 2, measure what matters. So it's really no secret whether you've been doing digital marketing for a long time, or this is new to you, or you're a nonprofit is just in its infancy. I don't think it's a secret that it can take multiple touch points in a donor's journey with you to finally end up supporting your organization. Most new donors aren't willing in when they first see an ad or first visit your website to just whip out their wallet and their debit card and make a donation to you. It takes multiple touch points. But a key question is, how do you know the right message to deliver at each point in that journey? And how do you ensure that your advertising is working and that you're not wasting money and resources, or worse, alienating potential donors? And better measurement is the answer here. It's really the key to understanding and making the most of all those interconnected touch points. But it's not always top of mind when a nonprofit is building their marketing campaigns. You really need to lay your measurement foundation first before you dive into the creative work. With that, you can set yourself up for more success, and you'll be able to achieve more with your marketing. And one thing that I really want to touch on here is what makes Facebook unique when it comes to measurement. So we use a lot of different platforms at Community Boost. We use the Google Ad Grant, we use paid Google Ads, we use YouTube, email marketing. But with a lot of those channels, it can become pretty convoluted to see what is actually driving those donations. For example, on Google Ads or the Google Ad Grant, we might be targeting someone with an ad and they visit our site through their phone. And maybe we collect their email, but then later on send an email campaign blast, and then they donate via email. Often that first initial touch point through Google gets lost in translation, and we don't see that our Google ads are actually working. And on the surface, it might look like they're not. But what's beautiful about Facebook and what makes it unique is that it uses people-based measurement. People browse and buy across different devices, browsers, platforms, and channels, but they're logged into Facebook or Instagram, which can really help a nonprofit understand the big picture of people's donor journeys rather than measuring the performance of a single ad or touch point. And I really urge you all to, if you start to use Facebook ads and Instagram ads, or you already are, to definitely leverage the power of the Facebook pixel. It is an extremely powerful tool. It's what makes Facebook so able to scale at the pace that it is. You can basically track all pages of your website with this Facebook pixel and see when people visit certain pages, how they behave, how long they stay on your site, if they've opted to start donating to you but then leave, which Ernie kind of touched on with remarketing. It's an extremely powerful tool and something that you need to research and set up correctly to make sure that you're set up for success on Facebook ads. I also want to touch on 4 other pieces that play into measuring what matters. The first piece is focus on the right metrics. And this goes for all the different channels you might use, but specifically for Facebook, you can set yourself up for success by identifying clear metrics that you want to keep an eye on before launching a campaign. Just some of these are these are your KPIs, the frequency, the impressions, the clicks, and donations are just a few. But just so that you know, you can create your own custom metrics within Facebook to track and better report. It's also really important for you to value your best supporters. Instead of measuring transactions alone, make sure to model the lifetime value you derive from your supporters. Let's say you run a campaign and you spend $400 on it and you only seem to have driven $300 in donations. That might have seemed like a loss, but it's a win because you're learning a lot about which people ended up donating to you. And then if you have some kind of monthly donation model, you really have to take lifetime value into account and think about, well, how long is this person going to be donating to me over the course of the next couple of years? Are they going to be activating their network? There's a lot more value that goes into that than just that initial first transaction. The other thing that's really valuable is when you set up conversion value tracking, you can tell Facebook which people are actually donating to you at a higher level. For example, if there's a segment of people that have a higher conversion value than maybe like a one-time lower value conversion, you can give Facebook those lists of people and tell them to analyze them and find more people that match your best supporters. And that's really valuable and something that you should be taking advantage of. It's also important for you to attribute value across the journey. You need to be making both macro and micro conversions. Ultimately, your goal might be a donation, but there's a lot of things that happen along the way and that journey that are also valuable and give you insights as to how these potential donors are supporting or behaving on your website. For example, you can track email opt-ins. You can track people visiting certain key pages of your site. You can track people clicking on certain buttons of your site. Those are all really, really valuable insights as to how these people are behaving and how to better move them through that funnel to end up donating to you. And then lastly, you need to be proving prove marketing impact. We'll get into this in my tip and tip 4 about A/B testing, but it's really important that you use controlled experimentation to understand what's happening in your campaigns and what's actually causing those results. For example, are you upping the budget? Are you testing a new type of creative? Are you targeting a new user? Those are things that you need to be tracking. Otherwise, you're kind of flying in the dark when it comes to optimizing and making your campaigns better. Collectively, these points can improve campaign effectiveness, help you get the credit you deserve for your programs, and most importantly, ensure a better return on investment for all of your marketing. And I'll pass it on to Ernie for tip 3.
Awesome. Thank you, Blake. So when it comes to running ads on Facebook, a lot of A/B testing is involved, as we mentioned a few times today. We do this because it's very important, but we do it to identify which text, image, or headline resonates the most with the audiences that we're trying to reach. Unfortunately, this takes time and it can cost a bit more. So one solution we found to bypass the testing phase and save time is by utilizing the post-to-ad method. I've identified here 3 reasons why you should do it, and then also their benefits. So the one thing you want to use post-to-ad method for is the social proof. You can take an already established post with social proof to the market. This forces the algorithm to deliver your ad at a much lower cost per click and gives you the opportunity to increase awareness and drive more results. So without starting scratch with an ad and going through that testing phase with Facebook, you essentially can take your highly engaged post and turn it into an ad which will help you reach a lot more people right away. It also helps you lower your cost per clicks immediately. The Facebook algorithm decides what the cost per click will be by grading your engagement score. Facebook has gone on and mentioned this many times, is they want their users engaging and to have a positive experience on Facebook. This is measured by the number of likes, shares, clicks, and comments on your ads or posts. So if your post is not getting a lot of clicks or shares, or if it's not reaching that targeted audience, it's because Facebook is not deeming it as important, or it's just not valuable information to share with more people. So it's kind of limiting your reach. So because Facebook wants that positive experience while on platform, they want to make sure their users are not getting bombarded with ads. So something to keep in mind. The reason why you want to do this is because it increases that engagement and gives you a lower cost per click. But if your engagement is lower, then your cost per click is going to be higher. And then Facebook is deemed the ad not relevant. So you just want to make sure that if you are going to use the post to ad method, is make sure you use a highly engaged post and turn it into an ad versus, a post that you may think is really good and run it as an ad, which then it just would not work. And then the last thing is going to be the A/B testing. As we mentioned it's really important, but what's really cool with post to ad method is there's no A/B testing involved. As mentioned earlier, you save time and money by not having to test various ads. By utilizing already established posts, since the algorithm has already favored this item, this is now going to give you the ability to focus on targeting and making small adjustments to your campaign, and you won't have to worry about the creative. It gives you that ability to focus on what matters, focusing on that reach, and making sure that the audiences that you're looking to reach, if it's current or new potential donors, you want to make sure you're reaching them within your area, so that way you're not focusing on the ads and the creative and trying to change different headlines and images. And we'll go over to the next slide so you can see one of our case studies. So this is Diane Fossey. We use the post ad method, and as you can see, it worked extremely well. We generated over 5,000 reactions and comments, and we also brought in over 400 ad shares, $10,000 in donations, and we spent about $1,500 to do this. This worked because we showed social proof, which again, deems something important or relevant. And by showcasing these numbers to newer audiences, we automatically grab their attention, because in today's world, we all operate off of social proof. If I share a video with some of you with millions of views, chances are you're gonna watch it, versus if I gave you a video with 5 views. We just internally deem things important based on those numbers now. And also the algorithm is designed to show ads with a ton of user activity, which relates to a positive experience. So the higher we can grow the engagement numbers, the lower our cost per click is going to be, and the more people we're going to reach. So I highly recommend that you all go ahead and use the post to ad method. If you have a ton of engaging posts, you could boost it if you want right from Facebook, or just turn it into an ad and focus on that reach, and it'll really should be a game changer for your Facebook campaign. And then going into the next slide, which leads me to content is king. This connects with this because volume over perfection. You want to post more. The more posts you have, the more activity you have on Instagram and Facebook, the more engagement you're going to get, because the more people are going to see it. If you're on Instagram, it's really important to use memorable hashtags. If it's your organization, you could hashtag your org, or just use things that may be about the cause. You also want to utilize micro influencers to expand your reach. You want to ask your followers on both platforms to go ahead and share your posts, to like your stuff, you can do video polls on Instagram Live and things like that. So it's really important to utilize your micro influencers. And then you want to use stories and go live, and do it often. With the lockdown and the COVID stuff happening now, we see a tremendous increase in organizations and businesses going live on Facebook, because now you can grab the attention of your followers and your donors and let them know how you're doing, let them know everyone's safe, but you can also wish them a safe day or a safe week, and we're all in this together. It creates that impact, but it also creates community. And then last but not least is you want to get your audience involved to share your stories by tagging you. It's really important. Quick 30-second or even a 10-second clip for Instagram and a Facebook story, and saying, hey, share this if you believe in so-and-so, or whatever engaging text you can come up with. But it's really a good idea to put that stuff out there, because when it comes to the stories, they're going to be seen by everyone, not just your followers at times. And by getting those people involved, you're acquiring new followers, potential new donors, and you're creating that community, which the Facebook algorithm is looking into when you do plan on running your ads in the future. So highly recommend you follow these things. And the biggest thing I can just recommend is, remember, volume over perfection when it comes to posting, because the more you post, the better it's going to be, because the algorithm is going to pick it up and more reach is going to be associated with that. And I'll go ahead and give you guys to tip 4. Over to Blake.
Thanks, Ernie. Those are great tips. For tip 4, it's always B testing or A/B testing. And this is really, really important. It kind of plays into my tip number 2. Kind of my theme is you need to be measuring, you need to be testing. Otherwise, you're kind of flying in the dark here. And the main thing I want to leave you all with is that Facebook's algorithm is always changing, and we can never fully predict what ads will resonate with our donors the most. So A/B testing is essential. Copy, headline, image, and targeting. And this goes beyond just ads. I really want you all to think about A/B testing your entire funnel, landing pages, Google ads, your website, email follow-up, all of that needs to be A/B tested. And for those of you who might not be as familiar with like a marketing A/B test, it basically what we do at Community Boost is we run A/B tests where we're only changing one variable across our ads or ad sets or campaigns. So in this example for Teton Valley Ranch, we have 2 ads that are exactly identical except for the image, and we're testing 2 different images. And then in the right-hand side, we have 2 ads that are using the same exact image, but we're testing different creative. And we do these iterations over the course of the entire month. So sometimes we find clear winners in the very first week of running new ads. Sometimes it takes the entire month for us to see without a reason of a doubt or statistically significant changes that say that, hey, this new ad is the winner. And the beautiful thing is that in these platforms, there are built-in tools that you can use to run experiments. And I'll talk about that in just a bit. But one thing that I really want to make clear is that there are so many campaigns, so many times, and Ernie and Eric can attest to this, where we've run ads and we thought for sure we knew which one was going to be the winner of the group, and it wasn't. We made assumptions about which ads would be the winner, which audience would be the winner, and that's usually not the case. So please, across all your different platforms, make sure to test a lot of different things and keep it diverse. And I'll get into some of the different tips here on how to A/B test the right way on the next slide. Oh, before I even get into that, one other thing, if you could go back, Eric. One thing that's really important about A/B testing too, on like the more technical side, is that Facebook can actually see how often you're changing up your creative. And this is based off a metric called frequency. So, some audiences can get fatigued more easily by stale content and ads. If you've run the same ad to the same audience over the course of 2 months, Facebook can tell you, hey, this person on average has actually seen your ad 100 times in the last 2 months, and they haven't donated yet. So they're most likely not going to donate. And if you continue to show that audience the same ad over and over and over, that's a bad user experience. And Facebook's going to charge you actually more for that. So as frequency rises, often the cost per clicks or cost per result gets more expensive. That's why it's really important for you to start off with a bunch of different ads and also be going in and creating new iterations when you find that your last test is over and there's a statistically significant clear winner. And then on the next slide, I'll go over some tips. So the first is just A/B test everything. A/B testing isn't just limited to your Facebook ads. Like I said, it's your landing pages, your website, your email, Google ads. And you shouldn't think about this as some huge thing that you need to do to move your conversion rate from 1% to 80%. Think about it in these incremental 1% conversion rate lifts. So for example, if you find that your landing page is converting at a 1% change, and then you make adjustments to maybe the color of the page or the copy on it or the call to action, and you go from a 1% to a 2%, you've effectively doubled the donations or whatever goal that you're tracking on that page. And that's a huge win. And even if you don't end up increasing your conversion rate, at least you know now what doesn't work. And that's also in itself a win. And that's how we operate at Community Boost. We constantly, each week, each month, make these small iterations that increase the conversion rate over time from 1% to 10% or something along those lines. And that's how you create a very healthy, strong campaign. We also suggest you can use some free tools to be able to do this. So Google Optimize is a tool that you can use for conversion rate optimization of landing pages or your website. You can use tools like Crazy Egg for heat mapping and tracking, is also a tool that you can use for CRO. In Google Ads and Facebook, you can create experiments, which make sure that the experiment you're running is statistically significant. It'll give a 50 budget to, let's say, 2 different audiences that you want to test, and make sure that they both get the same exact amount of reach and impressions, so that you know for sure one variable is a winner over the other. There's also no replacement for experience. Making assumptions about your audience is a mistake. You know, some of our top campaign winners have come from campaigns that we never expected to win. So definitely just test a lot of different things, and then get specific. Test in Facebook and Instagram specifically. You can test different bidding strategies. For example, whether it's like, you know, a small daily budget or a lifetime budget. You can test campaign objectives. For example, maybe you want to track conversions, or maybe you're just trying to send as much traffic to your landing pages as possible, or maybe you're trying to reach as many people as possible. And you can also test different placements. So maybe a mobile only campaign, or a desktop only campaign, or you only want to test sending ads to men or women only. There's so much that you can do as far as placements go on Facebook that you can test. If you're a beginner, I would suggest running automatic placements. It just helps you learn about which ones work best, but later on down the line, you can take manual control of those. Yeah, and those are my tips. I think those will really help to get you started on the right foot in your Facebook and Instagram advertising. So on to tip 5 with Ernie.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Blake. Retargeting rewards is our tip 5. And then we saved it for last because I think retargeting is just a really, really important thing to utilize in your Facebook marketing and with your ads in general. So retargeting is one of the lowest hanging fruits for your marketing campaigns. Some of you may have hundreds, if not thousands of users on your website daily. Knowing how to engage these individuals is key and can be very, very rewarding. One way to start, or one way to establish this, is to go ahead and lead with gratitude first. And the reason why we have that set up is, again, it connects with driving that traffic first. So we like to do here at Community Boost is we like to do some thank you ads and posts to our donors and followers. This is just to get them to engage and to possibly go to, to click on the post to get to the website. You also want to do is to engage new followers and show appreciation, which includes commenting on posts and liking their comments. So engaging with the followers, I see a lot of our partners as well. Someone will comment on their page, but they will not receive a comment back. This necessarily doesn't put a negative spin to it, but if I were a donor and I commented on something, I like being commented back, or even someone liking my comment. It just makes me feel good. And another thing is you want to share the impact and the success. Send them to the latest blog post and inform users on what's going on. Keep them updated. Soon they'll start visiting on their own as you nurture that process. Because as you're posting more, showing your appreciation, showing gratitude, giving them constant updates, you're establishing this connection with your followers and donors to go ahead and start visiting you on your page, but also on your website. Once you start building that audience, you want to go ahead and jump into the retargeting aspect. You want to go ahead and start retargeting your website visitors and the Facebook page engagers, because we do have the ability to do that. You want to test audiences based on specific pages or frequency. Facebook is an awesome tool and gives us so many possibilities. There's just so much power that you have behind it, where you can target people based on how many times they've visited your website. So targeting people based on specific, links or even frequency changes how hot and cold these audiences are. This will help you reach certain users and determine the type of ads that they'll be seeing as well. Kind of like we use an example with the initiated checkout with One More Wave. You also want to share your ads to users who are active with your Facebook and Instagram space. This again relates to us mentioning, posting and posting often. When people are engaging, you have a number of ways to take advantage of that. And one of the ways is to go ahead and retarget the individuals who have interacted with your posts or with your posts on Facebook and Instagram. These individuals are the ones that always comment, they like and share your posts. They are usually some of the strongest campaigns that we've built when it comes to some of our donation asks. Social engagers tend to respond really, really well because they already are on social media, and now we're targeting them on social media. It just connects really extremely well. And next thing you want to do is you want to market to those who have initiated checkouts, like we mentioned earlier, or went to About Us page. Ask them to complete a donation or share your mission. What this does, it creates a personalization and increases your chances of generating donations. So what I mean by that is, if you see a number of people visiting the About Us page in your nonprofit, it'll be good to retarget those individuals and show them a video of your mission and your impact and what you guys are trying to do. If you have a lot of visitors in your initiated checkout stage or your add to cart, or just in general viewing all the donation options, it'll be a really good idea to just re-engage them. You don't necessarily have to ask them for a donation, but it'll be good to re-engage them and just see what they're up to. Which leads me to the next slide. Just after remarketing is always, just want to make sure that a quick recap is extremely going well to perform extremely well, and highly encourage you all to look into your strategy to ensure that it's properly utilized. So just make sure that you're targeting your audiences properly, looking into your pixel, so that way you're targeting the correct users.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ernie. I definitely want to save some time for everyone to ask questions. So we'll do a quick recap here, and then we'll get into fielding some questions and giving some more tips based on what we hear from you all. So firstly, Facebook and Instagram are great platforms to help your organization fundraise in today's current climate. Hope we made that clear. There's so many targeting options, so many tracking options that are available on Facebook that aren't on other channels. We're seeing continued users use it as they're in quarantine. And a lot of advertisers are currently not using Facebook and Instagram just because they either can't afford it right now, or it is a challenging time, but it's definitely the time to start creating campaigns and building out while it's less competitive, so you can get that edge before everyone pops back on Facebook and Instagram. And then here are 5 tips for successful Facebook and Instagram campaign. So recap: personalization wins. Make sure you are creating ads that are tailored to the audience that you're targeting. For each step of the funnel, I love what Ernie said. If someone's brand new to your organization, don't ask them for a donation. Give them a little bit more information about your mission. If they've been to your site before and have been to the donation page, you can track that, then target that person if they haven't donated, and urge them to donate based off of how it'll impact your mission, and really tug on the heartstrings there. Make sure to measure what matters. It's so important to set this up, to know what KPIs you're tracking, to set benchmarks before you actually run your campaign, and to, throughout the campaign, be tracking the new iterations that you're doing to see how each change is impacting your total campaign results. Make the most of existing posts. This is a huge one. This is one of my favorites. If you are new to Facebook advertising, someone brought up, what's the difference between boosting or advertising? If you don't have a ton of budget, this can be a great way to get your feet wet in the Google or the Facebook Ads Manager platform. You can just take a post that's already performing well and turn it straight into an ad and pay way less to do that. And you don't have to run any A/B tests on that as well. Tip 4, always be testing. That being said, you should be A/B testing everything else. If you do a post to ad, your landing pages, your email, Facebook, Instagram, all those platforms have softwares or tools built in that help you run experiments to see what's working best. And then lastly, retargeting rewards. This is the lowest hanging fruit. In all of our campaigns, we see, retargeting is usually the clear winner here, where you're getting the return on ad spend of anywhere from 5 to 10 times, because you're targeting those people and spending money targeting those people that have already shown some kind of interest in your mission or your organization. So from there, we'll get into some questions, but I also just wanted to thank you all for being here on this Tuesday morning or afternoon, or wherever you're at. We're grateful. It looks like the majority of people stayed on the entire webinar, which is awesome to see. We hope that these tips have helped you. Again, Community Boost is really here just to help great causes, great nonprofits that are making an impact or changing the world. So I hope that you found this stuff valuable. And from here, we want to just show our gratitude by giving everyone a complimentary one-on-one Facebook strategy session and a free traffic campaign build. This is the first time that we've done this, but we just talked to our Facebook team, and we were talking about what would be the best value that we could provide to those that, spent their time on this webinar today. And we really think that talking through your specific issues or questions, and then also getting you started with some interests in a traffic campaign build can be a great way to start that top of funnel traffic that then leads into remarketing if you haven't done that before. So all you need to do is click one of these links to schedule your Facebook strategy session. And if you do that within the next 24 hours, that free traffic campaign build will also be included with that. And we think that'll be a very valuable thing for those of you that are just getting started or have started and haven't found success. So thank you all again so much. We so appreciate you being on the webinar. From here, I'll have Eric kind of field some questions, and we'll spend the next 13 minutes or so going through those.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Blake and Ernie. You guys both did a really good job, and it's just packed with valuable information. But yeah, let's jump into some questions. So this one is from Gabriel, talking about how, we can fundraise on certain big days like Giving Tuesday, but do we have any advice for more evergreen strategies? Do either of you guys want to touch on maybe birthday fundraisers as a fundraising opportunity?
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I can let Ernie take that one. He's like the Facebook fundraising or birthday fundraiser guru.
Yeah, perfect. So Facebook fundraising is a very effective way to go ahead and streamline your like an evergreen donation campaign. What's cool about Facebook is there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Something that we like to do here at Community Boost, we'll do some birthday fundraisers and birthday asks. Typically, Facebook will send a message 7 days beforehand to a user, right, and so let them know, hey, your birthday's coming up. You can do a fundraiser in your name. We kind of do that on Community Boost, and we'll do it for specific nonprofits and have people donate their birthdays. And we'll target specific. We'll base it out of like a different tiered campaigns where we're kind of generating that traffic flow and then focusing on getting donations on retargeting those audiences to go ahead and start a birthday fundraiser. But I would highly recommend, if you have not tried those yet, it's a very good integrative tool. The only thing is, before you begin Facebook fundraisers, is you want to go ahead and set up your payments with Facebook, so that way Facebook can go ahead and send donations to the organization. But once that is set up, it's a really awesome tool to take advantage of. I believe, I don't have the exact number, but Facebook fundraisers are doing really extremely well, especially this year with the COVID stuff going on. So I'd highly recommend, clicking that fundraiser, creating it, and then just kind of starting small and just seeing how your organic audiences are responding.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ernie. One thing I would add, what makes it so powerful is I would start with your Facebook followers or Instagram followers, and you can target people that have a birthday coming up in the next month or the following month. And you can basically have these campaigns go on autopilot. Kind of plays into what you're talking about it being evergreen. You can target the person a month ahead of time, kind of warm them up to, hey, your birthday's coming up in a month. Would you pledge your birthday to a birthday fundraiser through our organization? And then maybe the week before their birthday, re-follow up with an ad and ask them to do that. And we find great success with people pledging their birthdays. Just something else to note, just so that you're all aware, there isn't strong tracking in Facebook fundraising right now. So you can see the total amounts coming in from Facebook fundraisers, but if you're running an ad to that Facebook fundraiser, you can't see how many of those people are actually registering, just so that you know. But you can send someone directly to the Facebook fundraisers from your ad. And what's cool about it is it'll auto-populate with them to start the fundraiser. They don't necessarily need to do anything. It's a pretty seamless funnel and strategy there.
Yeah, that's great. It's also a fantastic way to take advantage of people's peer networks on Facebook to reach people that you don't pay to get in front of, but your supporters are getting in front of for you, which is really cool. Okay, we have another question from Joel Miller. We're a college-age serving org. Our Facebook page is for everybody, students, parents, alumni. Setting the tone is difficult. Should we establish separate Facebook pages for parents, alumni to tailor the content for each?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say, yeah, if you do have different people visiting those pages, I would recommend tailoring the different pages. So for example, we work with a partner, they're called Lines for Life, and they have crisis call centers for teens and adults who might be going through a hard time and just need to talk to somebody. And they have specific Facebook pages and even ads manager accounts for the different entities. So they'll have like a youth line, an adult line, a military line. And that's something they've found a lot of success with. If like kind of the messaging on one of your Facebook pages is too general, I would absolutely recommend doing that. But you should have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. And just to add to that, Joel, as well, is something you could look into is as Blake was mentioning earlier, is always, B testing. A/B testing a variety of, text and ads to see what might be resonating, with certain demographics, and then you'll see a trend to what seems to work better and which audience tend to, respond better. So then that way you can it'll kind of help guide the way your ads and your pages are going to look for different demographics as well. But Facebook does offer a cool tool. It's called the Audience Insights. You could look into, and this kind of gives you a breakdown of what your followers are doing and what they tend to like, and just in general, how they respond to certain posts and messaging as well.
Awesome. There's a good question here, Eric, as someone had wrote in an anonymous attendee. It says, what are some of your tips for selecting and optimizing audiences? Are there any best practices when it comes to narrowing in on promising audiences based on interest, demographics, etc.? That's a really great question. And it's kind of, there's two pieces to this. The first is, I would recommend, and this wasn't always the case, if you had asked me this last year, I would probably have a different answer, but the Facebook algorithm has changed a bit, and it's trying to move more towards automation and letting the algorithm kind of handle who you should be targeting. So I would recommend for new campaigns to start off with automated placements. That means you're targeting the Facebook Marketplace, the Facebook newsfeed, Instagram, every placement that those ads can show up on, and all demos as far as like age range and male and female. But based off of how the results kind of after that first launch, after the first month, you can go and you can actually click on any campaign ad set and you can click the breakdown section, and it'll let you know where your conversions are coming from based off the placements and demographics. For example, you can see geographic location, you can see which interest is performing best. You can see where people are actually, if it's for donations, maybe they're donating from mobile more than they are on desktop. You can see all that information. And if one is skewing way more than another, you can then start to exclude, the ones that aren't performing well. And that's kind of how we start to narrow in on the most promising demos there.
Yeah, definitely. And then along with that, we're able to contextualize the messaging even more the more we dial in a certain demographic, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. All right, a question from Jane. If you have only boosted posts and have never created an ad, where can you go for direction on the how to? Really want to experiment with this. Quickly, our blog has a lot of really valuable how-to information, and then also just the Facebook support articles give you a lot of quick details and specific details on how exactly to go in and create audiences in the ads manager. But do you guys want to add anything on this?
I think Ernie's tip on turning a post into an ad can be a really great start for you if you're already familiar with boosting. I did see someone else ask, like, what's the difference between the two somewhere in one of these questions. And yeah, that there's a lot of differences. They are making boosts better now, where you have a little bit more control over the audiences that you're targeting. It didn't used to be the case. But the beautiful thing about running ads, like direct full ads through the ads manager, it gives you more control over the different tiers in that funnel. So you can create different campaign objectives and goals for your ads, where it can get a little bit tougher to do that with just normal boosts. And it also gives you more control as far as the targeting, the creative, A/B testing. It's a more advanced version of just boosting ads.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add to that, I think I guess the easiest way would be, I think I mentioned it, but if you do have a post that's, doing really well, you could essentially boost it right from Facebook. And once you boost that post, it will go into your business manager if you have one. And from there, you'll see the option to edit the ad set, and then you can kind of make some changes to the type of audiences if you want to add something more in there. But that might be the easier, probably the easiest way to jump in there. But there's definitely a few blog posts that I know I've written in regards to how to boost a post, but how to actually promote it, which gives you what Blake was mentioning, a little more targeting options, and it's a little more advanced, but we do have a how-to and a step-by-step guide on how to do that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Looks like there's another question here just before we end. I want to make sure everyone gets hit. It's from Jose. Thank you for putting this together. My question is, does this apply to startup or new foundations? And I think absolutely. You should be getting a lot of this stuff set up, even if you're not ready to run a campaign right now. Get that Facebook pixel on your site if you have one. Start tracking and learning about people that are on your page. You can get so many insights as to how you should tailor your ad creative to those people based off how they're behaving. You can start to build those interests and remarketing lists even before you run an ad. It's never too early to start, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, unless you guys have any other questions, it's great to give you guys 2 minutes back of your time. And thank you all for coming today. This is a lot of fun, and it's just a great opportunity to be able to help everyone that we can get set up in this platform and give them some tips, some actionable tips to make the most of it, because it really is an awesome fundraising opportunity. So thank you to everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to chatting with you and helping you with your free traffic campaign build and strategy session.
Yeah, thank you all.